Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. So we've got some news today regarding the Ogre Mercenaries, how they'll be recruited and what exact units we'll be getting. This is from a blog post that Creative Assembly kindly provided to us creators prior to the release. Before we jump into what exact ogres we're going to be getting, there's a few things to discuss first, so let's read out the blog post and comment on it. The ogres are coming to Total War Warhammer for the very first time in the Ogre Mercenaries pack, available for free as part of Total War Access. It adds a new mechanic accessible by all factions, hireable ogre units that will fight for your cause as long as you keep them fed, watered, paid, and in combat. So how does that exactly work in game terms? Ogre camps have a chance to spawn whenever an act of destruction takes place. Battles, sieges, the razing and sacking of settlements, anything where there might be plunder to be had and meat to be served. Ogres will move into an area and create a camp, which you can then interact with via an army. Here, you can choose which tribe to work with and pay, giving units to the local mercenary recruitment pool. From there, you simply have to recruit the units into the army you wish to have them in, and keep them paid. The ogre camp will disperse, though more can always spawn later. If you run out of money to pay your ogres, who are not cheap, then they will depart without a moment's hesitation. In custom battles, every ogre unit is available to every faction as part of the campaign exclusive pool. This means they aren't available in quick battle or custom games with unit caps enabled, but otherwise you're free to bring them to the table whenever you wish. So the Ogre Mercenaries can be recruited by any race and faction in Total War Warhammer. This is great as obviously not everyone is going to be completely keen on playing Beastmen or Lizardmen, so you'll have the option to use this whenever you want. It's an interesting mechanic and obviously foreshadowing the future where the Ogre Kingdoms will eventually get released, so I think Creative Assembly are doing something really well here. I can now also confirm that this afternoon I'll be showcasing Ogre gameplay. But until then, let's look at the units that we'll be getting in-game. The picture we have on screen in front of us right now is that of a standard ogre. They're literally just called ogres. These are the basic frontline units, so they were just called standard ogres. However, many tabletop players had lovingly referred to them as ogre bulls. Quite a popular unit on the tabletop, and Creative Assembly have also provided some snippets of lore, plus what type of variants we'll see. Big, brutish, and extremely violent, ogres are simple and straightforward creatures. They know what they want and use their brawn to take it. Ogres don't do contemplative head scratching, preferring to smash things they don't understand. I relate to these ogres on a very personal level. The bull charge forwards is their favoured way to crush any opposition and greedily grab what they like. And what ogres want is power, respect, wealth, and perhaps most of all, an endless supply of meat to feast upon. Given the chance, an ogre will barge into combat, using his great lumbering mass as a weapon. They excel at fighting, and this, along with their greed and lack of concern about right or wrong, means an ogre mercenary is always ready for a battle against anyone, anywhere. History is replete with examples of ogres being paid to fight, and even sometimes being paid not to join a fray. When they do enter combat, ogres make frightening opponents, for they are savage and can sometimes devour the fallen where they lie. In the heat of battle, this horrifies their opponents, who must fight the blood-splattered vanquisher of their former comrades. Okay, so we know that we're getting two variants here, maces and dual weapons. There is something rather interesting here though. If we go back to the artwork, those fist weapons are rather curious, as they used to act in a form like a shield in Warhammer Fantasy Tabletop. It's likely that this could be some sort of hint towards the future, as I'm pretty sure that was a unique weapon. Jumping in with an edit right here, I've just checked the Ogre Kingdom's army book for 8th edition, and those fist weapons are known as iron fists. I was completely right, it's not usually what would be associated as an additional hand weapon. They still could be used as weapons, but the main reason that they existed was to act as a sort of shield to give better armor saves to the ogre bulls. So I'm assuming that this is a hint of what's to come in Warhammer 3. Now let's go back to the notable characteristics for the ogre bulls. Adds a monstrous infantry option to factions that may not normally have access to it. has standard monstrous infantry entity count, as well as causing fear and being able to operate as a siege attacker. Dual weapon variant gets the bonus versus infantry stat for some truly murderous rampages. Okay, so ogres are expected to be quite strong anyway. I mean, they are ogres and they are very large and in charge. Keep in mind that in the army book, the standard ogres or ogre balls were pretty much the weakest form of ogre that you could find in the actual roster. Let's move on to the next units, and these ones might be surprising: Ogre Man-Eaters. Let's start off with their lore. Ogre Man-Eaters are veterans of many campaigns fought in far-off lands, traveling mercenaries beyond peer. They have spent decades accruing scars, tall tales, wealth, and exotic war gear. There's a little typo over there, but I'm assuming that will be fixed by the time it goes live. Man-Eaters have fought throughout the Old World and beyond, and many races attempt to recruit such fighters into their armies, promising food, gold, or whatever else the ogres want in return for their services. It's the pay that matters, not the foe, although with some contracts man-eaters are awarded fallen enemies to eat, so in those cases the enemy may matter. Ogres eat anything, but they have preferences. Man-eaters tend to operate in small groups, some of which have fought together for years. Despite their outlandish appearance, these tight-knit bands excel at breaking heads. It's rare for any two man-eaters to fight or be equipped in exactly the same manner, and opponents find themselves facing a dizzying array of different weapons and combat techniques. The only real factors uniting the individualistic man-eaters are momentarily inflated sense of self-worth and the capacity to smash aside lesser creatures without breaking a sweat. So on the tabletop, the man-eaters were one of the most curious and versatile units ever created for Warhammer Fantasy. Basically how it worked is every model was completely different within its squad. You could build up the squad as you wished and chose, which was very alien to Warhammer Fantasy. Admittedly, it's more common now in Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000, where you get different heroes and so on. The Death Watch are a perfect example in Warhammer 40k, but in Fantasy this never happened. In fact, when you played against an ogre, you had to be prepared against pretty much anything, as different battle tactics could be used with their highly versatile army. Now, we are aware that we're getting two different variants of the Ogre Man-Eaters, Ogre Pistols and Great Weapons, so hopefully we'll be able to see more in the future when a full race pack is revealed. Their notable characteristics are as follows: a hybrid monstrous unit for some real flexibility on the battlefield, both variants being immune to psychology. The pistol variant is equally deadly in melee combat, but can weaken the enemy prior to contact, and can even fire while moving. Great Weapon variant bestows the usual bonuses on charges and even versus large units. I could see a few more different types of man-eaters being created, but we're gonna have to wait and see eventually when we see a full roster, as only this is available in Warhammer 2, and of course we're expecting the full roster within Warhammer 3. But now we have one final unit, and one which is going to be well received, I think. Mornfang Cavalry. Let's start off with the lore. Powered by thick haunches of purest muscle, a Mornfang surges towards the foe at a speed faster than their muscle-bogged frames would suggest, not slowed in the least by the ogre or saddle atop its hairy back. Protected by thick skin and coarse shaggy hair, enemy arrows bounce off the oncoming beast or ping off the ogre's armor, as harmless as hailstones. When they do smash into an enemy, the powerful Mornfangs chomp, slash and stamp the foe whilst the ogres lay about them, swinging ponderous clubs to bludgeon them. There is a fortune to be made as a mercenary for a young ogre with his own Mornfang, and every spring a few stout lads from the upper slopes will join together and sell their services as some of the heaviest shock cavalry in the known world. Although whole units of Mornfang Cavalry can usually secure the victory of any battle they are engaged in, these brutes and their gigantic steeds do not come cheap. The tyrants or paymasters of the victorious side often note a profound feeling of loss when the spoils of war are shared out. There's two things to discuss here before we go into how they were on the tabletop, however. There's something really interesting. So they mentioned paymasters. Paymasters were what was kinda in charge, in a sense, of paying units within the Dogs of War regiments. It could just mean nothing, but I believe that this is the first reference to paymasters that we've seen in Total War Warhammer, and of course, it being linked to the Dogs of War is just very curious. That being said, on the tabletop, Mornfang Cavalry, yeah, I learned to fear these units way back in the day, especially if you were playing something like Skaven, which everything was kind of squishy. The moment these things started hitting you, you were gonna start feeling it. It's perhaps the only cavalry unit that I was actually scared of playing against if I couldn't manage to pepper them from afar, and with a lot of Skaven stuff, you didn't really have a lot of ammunition, because you played mostly with clan rat stacks. Though, since they're available to all factions, I mean, I can now recruit Mornfang Cavalry with my Skaven, so yeah, this is gonna be fun. Their notable characteristics are as follows: monstrous cavalry in every sense of the word, man-eating beasts riding man-eating beasts, provides a monstrous cavalry option for factions that lack it, with all the power that implies. A truly powerful, armor-piercing top-tier unit. So we're getting a total of 5 Ogre Mercenary units. There's still a lot more missing from the full roster, but I'm assuming that obviously we'll be able to play with the rest of them in Warhammer 3. Until then, there is one more section to go over called More to Come. So here we get confirmation regarding the Ogres once again. They will release on July 14 through Total War Access. But it's important to note that we won't be the only ones recruiting them. The AI adversaries will be able to recruit them too, which means that as we carve our path of destruction throughout the Mortal Empires or Eye of the Vortex map, it's likely that we'll see ogres all over the place. It's also confirmation that the Silence and the Fury is our final farewell to the New World and Warhammer 2. This is interesting. It's been a, 4-year journey? With the Ogre Mercenaries counting as the final major edition, and now I guess we can start looking towards Warhammer 3, more units, more demons, more races, and so much more. But until then, of course, there's going to be a lot of content dropping in regards to the Silence and the Fury and anything else related to it. But what do you guys think about the ogres so far? Are you hyped up? Do you want to play as them? It's not long now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.